Wanda, welcome home.
Vision residents.
I'm gonna burn this place to the ground.
Welcome back, everyone. It's Charlie. Welcome to the Vision residents. Won't you all sit down? So we have a brand new Wandavision trailer to break down. If you're brand new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to get everything. We're doing that new giveaway for the Infinity Saga box set. All you have to do to enter is be a subscriber and leave all your theories about Wandavision on the video. I know everyone's freaking out about them doing the twins from the comics, them giving her the comic book X-Men Scarlet Witch costume, so we'll explain what's going on. There's a ton of Easter eggs in here for a bunch of huge Scarlet Witch comic book stories. Because they cut this trailer in a very non-linear way, I'll try to break it down chronologically as I think it happens through the episodes. So you actually start with that blue logo. The reason why they do the blue logo that changes from red is just to give the Disney Plus stuff its own identity, even though it's Marvel Studios, the same people that make the movies that are making this, it's all the movie actors. So it's just to let you know that this is a little bit special beyond what you would normally expect. You probably recognize the soundtrack that they opened the trailer with. It's actually the theme song of the Winter Soldier from Captain America Winter Soldier. So obviously they're going to bring that back during the Falcon and Winter Soldier episodes. Don't worry, I'll do a separate trailer breakdown for all the Falcon and Winter Soldier stuff. That's completely separate from what's going on the Wandavision series. But then you hear the doorbell ring and you see Vision's face and he says, "Wanda, welcome home." And she just completely flabbergasted. Like, what the hell is going on here? So this is the way I think it actually goes down during WandaVision episode 1. So you start actually in this scene here with this weird 1950s looking TV, everything's in black and white in this alternate reality that she's in, but she's still in color and she's still in her regular street clothes from present day. There's a version of her on the television that's also answering the phone as if she's inside a sitcom on the TV saying Vision residents, and she's dressed up like Donna Reed from a 1950s sitcom TV show. Then you see the scene of her looking like she's being folded into this space, like the perspective is shifting. She's still in color in her normal present-day street clothes, but Vision and everything else about this place is right out of the 1950s and in black and white. This is a huge Doctor Strange Easter egg in the way that they do this. I'll talk about how it connects to Doctor Strange too, but the actual Easter egg is the way she's moving when she's entering this reality, and it is an alternate reality. Remember how Doctor Strange and the Ancient One would move through different environments when they were fighting Caecilius and his fanatics? It's the exact same type of perspective shift when they're folding different realities into different planes. It's very Inception-y in that way. Look at her face when she sees Vision still in her street clothes, like, oh my god, how can this be real? How can you be alive? I watched you die. That's why I think this is the first place that she comes into when she's in this space for the first time. She doesn't know what's happening. It's like WandaVision episode 1. Then it seems like what happens is somehow she gets folded into this reality and she turns black and white too, just like Vision and everything else. And because they're filming this reality like she's literally living out her life in a 1950s sitcom, they play through all the beats that you typically see in people's lives on sitcoms. They formally get married, then later in the footage she gets pregnant with the twins from the comics, Wiccan and Speed. They shift into the 80s and 90s sitcom realities. Then I'll get to that stuff in a second. There's so much to unpack here. There's a ton of comic book Easter eggs, but they're basically shifting through decades of sitcoms, so some of this probably seems very familiar to you. The 1950s vibe and the black and white Vision are Easter eggs for two different, really big comic book stories. There's Tom King's Vision run, where Vision created a fake family for himself in present day and went to live in the suburbs. It was a very 1950s aesthetic, even though that was happening in present day. And then there was the White Vision story from the older Avengers comics when he was brought back to life, but he didn't have the same mental imprint from Wonder Man like he did the first time, so he had no emotion, no personality, he was just this cold, unfeeling robot. When you watch him while he's inside this black and white 1950s sitcom, you probably sense the meta joke here is that the characters on those TV shows and those sitcoms were very bland, had very little personality, so they're also making fun of a lot of the tropes of sitcoms from the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, and so on. But however she enters this alternate reality where this is happening, she eventually shifts reality into the 60s and 70s, gets pregnant with the twins, Wiccan and Speed. Look at how big her belly is. Twins will definitely do that to you. Look at how the house changes into something that looks right out of the Brady Bunch in the 70s, the Vision Bunch. When she starts looking around all scared and surprised like something is happening and she doesn't know what's going on, it's probably something to do with the twins' mutant powers while they're in her womb. Maybe just strange things start happening, she can't explain it, and eventually the alternate reality shifts from the 1970s sitcom into the 1980s, and she's given birth, She and Vision are dressed up hilariously like they're inside the early seasons of Full House, and the twins are levitating their pacifiers telekinetically while they're in their cribs. She's freaking out because she clearly doesn't understand how their powers work and doesn't know what's going on. The other really meta Full House joke here, too, is if you didn't know, Elizabeth Olsen is actually the younger sister of the Olsen twins, who themselves got their start on Full House in real life. Vision in jeans is the funniest thing I've seen all day, and this looks like it's right out of the Tom King run, with Vision dressed up in almost the exact same outfit. Then her reality changes again, and she looks like she's in more of a 90s sitcom Roseanne vibe, just in terms of aesthetic. She's got this very stern, disapproving mom look on her face, like the twins are toddlers and they just did something really bad. Look at all the kids' drawings and stuff on the fridge behind her, stuff that the twins would have made for her Wiccan and Speed. Then they finally put her in a version of the classic Scarlet Witch X-Men comic book costume, but it's designed to look like she's wearing a Halloween costume because this is a sitcom-based reality that she's living in. And I don't know if this is happening in the 90s or closer to present day in terms of the sitcom timeline, but the really meta aspect of this is that they're going to explain her greater chaos magic from the comics, her reality warping powers, and officially give her the Scarlet Witch name. No one has ever called her Scarlet Witch in the Marvel movies yet. They've just called her Wanda. She's going full comic book Scarlet Witch during WandaVision, so the X-Men comic book costume is just a metaphor for that. The aesthetic of the logo kind of lets you know how the reality changes jumping forward in decades as she's living out her major life events, marriage, children, so on, like she's flipping channels on a TV, flipping through realities. My early theory is that Agatha Harkness has something to do with why this is all happening, and she's being played by the Catherine Hahn character. And even though they don't appear anywhere in this trailer, they're doing S.W.O.R.D. from the comics and explaining how Nick Fury creates the S.W.O.R.D. organization using the new space station we saw during the Spider-Man Far From Home post-credit scene. It confirms that that was the S.W.O.R.D. space station from the comics.
Everybody back to work! Got my shoes!
This is Monica Rambeau as an adult. We saw her as a child during the Captain Marvel movie. I don't know if they're going to give her her comic book powers during this because she's also going to appear in the future movies, but she's also an agent of S.W.O.R.D. during this. Kat Dennings' character Darcy from the Thor movies is also featured. She's probably associated with S.W.O.R.D. somehow too. And Jimmy Woo from Ant-Man and the Wasp is also part of this series. But because he's FBI, I'm not totally sure how he gets involved with the Scarlet Witch reality warping. But as you can see, that's clearly the Doctor Strange 2 connection. The WandaVision finale will probably directly lead into the beginning of Doctor Strange 2. Scarlet Witch is one of the main characters of that movie. It's going to be a huge Thor Ragnarok style crossover involving, you guessed it, another major Marvel villain from an alternate reality. I've already done a whole bunch of Doctor Strange 2 X-Men videos because the twins obviously have mutant powers. They're going to be laying a lot of track work for actual X-Men characters within the Marvel Cinematic Universe, starting with WandaVision. Everybody whisper, reverse, no more mutants. The early speculation and scuttlebutt on her children is that they'll actually find a way to logically keep them around in the normal version of reality after the events of the series so that they can then go on to a Young Avengers project eventually. And if that sounds a little confusing, like, wait a minute, how could they get that old that fast? It would take a while for them to age up. Look at how this series jumps through the decades and how the twins grow up through the course of these different scenes that you see. Like by the time you get to Roseanne, a 90s level sitcom, they seem like they've aged years in the span of a couple episodes. Because this is a different alternate reality, the rules for how people age, how time moves, it's all very different. So that's how you start WandaVision, with her getting married to Vision in the fake reality, then by the end of the series having fully grown twins that could then go on to their own eventual Young Avengers series. There's a lot of rumors about them involving Quicksilver. There was some test scenes for kids that were auditioning to play their children during the course of the series, and during those audition scenes, they reference their uncle that's talking about the Quicksilver character. But because they filmed this on sound stages that were all closed, nobody actually had a chance to see whether or not Aaron Taylor Johnson was ever there filming scenes. But it's totally possible that Quicksilver does show up during this at some point. Doctor Strange may have a cameo in the finale. There are 6 episodes total, and based on the Disney Plus release schedule later this year, WandaVision's release date will probably be sometime around the beginning of October. Falcon and Winter Soldier will start in August and air all of its episodes right before WandaVision starts. I will do a trailer video for the Loki stuff and for Falcon and Winter Soldier, so I'll add a link at the end of the video as soon as I post those. But click here for my brand new Doctor Strange 2 X-Men video, and click here for New Avengers until I finish that Falcon Winter Soldier trailer. Then I'll replace the link. Thank you so much for watching. Everyone stay awesome. This is the way.